The morning started like any other aboard the orbital station New Geneva. Ambassador Kyle Harrison was reviewing trade agreements when the alarms began to sound. He looked up from his desk as Captain Lisa Murphy burst through his office door. "We have 12 massive ships approaching Earth," she said, her face pale. "They're not responding to our communications, but they're not hostile either. They're just ... waiting." Kyle stood up quickly. He'd been Earth's chief diplomat for 10 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. First contact with alien life was supposed to happen gradually, with careful planning and preparation. Instead, it was happening right now, and he was the one who had to handle it. "How big are these ships?" Kyle asked, as they walked quickly toward the command center. "Each one is about the size of Manhattan," Lisa replied. "Our sensors can barely understand what they're made of. The metal seems to shift and change as we watch it." Dr. Alex Carter was already in the command center when they arrived, staring at the massive screen showing the alien vessels. As Earth's lead scientist for studying life beyond their planet, Alex had spent years preparing for this day. But seeing the ships with his own eyes made his hands shake. "They're beautiful," Alex whispered. "Look at how they move through space. It's like they're swimming instead of flying." The ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. Seemed to be made of a crystal-like material that reflected light in strange ways. Some parts of the ships appeared solid, while other sections looked almost like they were made of liquid starlight. "Ambassador Harrison," came a voice from the communication station. "We're receiving a transmission. It's in perfect English." Kyle felt his heart racing. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that made everyone in the room take a step back. The creature on the screen was tall and thin, with skin that looked like living crystal. Its face was almost human-like, but its eyes were large and filled with what looked like tiny stars. "Greetings, people of Earth," the creature said in a voice that sounded like music. "I am High Mediator Zefter of the Velanathi race. We represent the Galactic Security Consortium, and we come with an offer of great importance to your world." Kyle stepped forward, trying to appear calm, even though his mind was racing. "Welcome to our solar system, High Mediator. I am Ambassador Kyle Harrison, speaking for the people of Earth. We are honored by your visit." Zefter seemed to smile, though it was hard to tell with his crystal-like features. "Your species has reached a level of development that requires our attention. We have watched your progress with great interest." "You've been watching us, Doctor?" Alex Carter asked, unable to keep quiet. Of course, Zefter replied, "We monitor all developing civilizations. It is our duty to ensure the safety and stability of the galaxy. Which brings me to why we are here." The alien gestured, and the screen split to show images of space battles, exploding planets, and creatures that looked like nightmares made real. "The universe is a dangerous place," Zefter continued. "There are threats beyond your imagination. Pirates who destroy entire worlds for profit, ancient machines that consume all life they encounter, beings from other dimensions who view your reality as nothing more than food." Kyle felt a chill run down his spine. The images were terrifying, showing destruction on a scale that humanity could barely comprehend. "But there is hope," Zefter said, and the screen changed to show peaceful worlds with cities that sparkled like jewels. "The Galactic Security Consortium has maintained peace across known space for over 3,000 years. We protect 1,200 worlds from these threats." Captain Lisa Murphy leaned forward. "How do you protect them?" "Through unity and cooperation," Zefter replied. "When a world joins our consortium, they agree to certain terms. They dismantle their military forces and allow us to handle all matters of defense. In return, we guarantee their complete safety from all cosmic threats." Dr. Alex Carter was taking notes rapidly, but Kyle noticed something strange. Every time they asked a direct question, the aliens seemed to pause for just a moment too long. Before answering, "Sounds like a generous offer," Kyle said carefully. "But I have to ask the obvious question. Protection from what, exactly?" For the first time since the conversation began, Zefter seemed uncomfortable. The crystal-like skin on his face shifted color slightly, and Kyle could see other alien figures moving nervously in the background of the transmission. "As I mentioned," Zefter said, "there are many threats. Pirates, ancient machines, dimensional beings. The galaxy is full of dangers that a young species like yours cannot possibly understand or defend against. But surely you could give us more specific information, Captain Lisa Murphy said. If we're going to trust you with our defense, we need to know what we're being defended from. The pause was longer this time. Kyle could see Zephdar exchanging what looked like nervous glances with the other aliens behind him. Specific nature of these threats is complex, Zephdar finally said. Your species lacks the scientific knowledge to fully comprehend them. What matters is that the consortium has successfully dealt with these threats for millennia. Dr. Alex Carter looked up from his notes. You mentioned that you protect 1,200 worlds. How many worlds have you had to ... not protect? Another pause. This time, Zephdar's skin changed to a darker shade of crystal. There have been unfortunate cases where worlds chose not to accept our protection, the alien said slowly. These worlds no longer exist. This is why we urge you to consider our offer seriously. Kyle felt his stomach drop. What are you saying? That every world that refused your protection was destroyed? Not by us, Zephdar said quickly. By the very threats we offer to protect you from. This is why our offer is so important. We have never lost a single world that accepted our protection. Captain Lisa Murphy and Dr. Alex Carter exchanged looks. Something about this conversation was not sitting right with any of them. Hi, Mediator, Kyle said. This is obviously a decision of enormous importance for our species. We would need time to discuss this with our leaders and our people. Zephdar's expression became what Kyle could only interpret as surprised. Time, but surely you can see the wisdom of accepting our protection immediately. Puts your world at risk. How much time do worlds usually take to make this decision? Dr. Alex Carter asked. Most worlds accept within hours of our arrival, Zephdar replied. It's unusual for a species to require extended deliberation. Kyle made a decision that would change the course of human history. We appreciate your offer, High Mediator, but humanity needs 30 days to properly consider your proposal. We hope you understand the reaction was immediate. Zephdar's skin color shifted rapidly through several shades, and Kyle could hear what sounded like urgent conversations in the background of the transmission. 30 days is a very long time, Zephdar said, his musical voice now carrying a note of tension. Many things can happen in 30 days. Threats can emerge. Accidents can occur. Are you threatening us? Captain Lisa Murphy asked sharply. Course not, Zephdar replied quickly. I am simply stating the reality of cosmic dangers. But, very well. You have 30 days. We will remain in your system to provide immediate assistance should any threats emerge during your deliberation period. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Well, Dr. Alex Carter said finally, that was interesting. Kyle nodded, his mind already working on the next steps. Get me President Collins on a secure line. I want a full analysis of everything we just recorded. Something about this whole conversation doesn't feel right. Space their crystal holes gleaming in the sunlight. Have you ever noticed he said slowly that when someone offers you protection from something, won't tell you what that something is, they're usually the thing you need protection from. The war room beneath the Pentagon had never been busier. Out. 3 days after first contact, every major government on Earth had representatives working around the clock. Commander Jake Phillips sat at a bank of computers, his eyes red from lack of sleep as he tried to decode alien communication signals. Anything yet? Asked Dr. Nina Brooks as she entered the room carrying 2 cups of coffee. Rubbed his eyes and accepted the coffee gratefully. Their communications are heavily encrypted, but we're starting to pick up patterns. The strange thing is, they're not just talking to each other. I'm trying to figure out, Jake pointed to his screen, which showed waves of data flowing in complex patterns. But here's what's really interesting. Every few hours, they send out what looks like a status report. Same format, same length, like they're checking in with someone. Dr. Nina Brooks sat down next to him and studied the data. Status reports. About what? About us, I think. About Earth and how the negotiations are going. Across the room, Colonel Pete Rodriguez was having his own breakthrough. He had been studying records of other civilizations that had encountered the consortium. Using data gathered by Earth's deep space telescopes and radio arrays, to Pete's workstation, where dozens of star charts were displayed on multiple screens. What am I looking at? Rick asked. Pete pointed to a series of red dots scattered across the star map. These are the locations of worlds that supposedly refuse the consortium's protection, according to their records. All of these civilizations were destroyed by the cosmic threats they mentioned. Supposedly, that's the problem, sir. The Kepler 442 system was destroyed by asteroid impacts 3 weeks after refusing protection. The Wolf 359 colony was wiped out by solar flares 2 months after saying no. The Gliese 667 worlds were invaded by unknown raiders exactly 4 days after their refusal. Rick studied the patterns. Those timings seem awfully convenient. It gets worse, Pete continued. Cross-referenced these events with our long-range sensor data. In every case, we detected unusual ship movements in those systems just before the disasters occurred. Ship movements? Ships matching the energy signatures of consortium vessels. The implications hit Rick like a physical blow. Are you saying? They're causing these disasters themselves? I'm saying the evidence suggests that the consortium creates the very threats they claim to protect against. Meanwhile, in another part of the facility, Dr. Grace Thompson was making her own disturbing discovery. The physicist had been studying the brain scans taken of the human negotiation team during their meeting with the aliens. Her lab looking as tired as everyone else in the building. Grace, what have you found? Something that explains why the aliens seemed so nervous during our meeting, Grace replied. Look at these brain scans from our negotiation team. She pulled up several brain imaging results on her screen. These are your neural patterns during the conversation with Zefter. Notice anything unusual? Alex studied the colorful brain scans. They look normal to me. Exactly, Grace said. They look completely normal, but they shouldn't. I don't understand. Grace switched to another set of scans. These are brain patterns from volunteers who were exposed to recordings of the alien transmissions. She showed Alex a different scan, this one from a test subject who had been exposed to what they suspected were consortium influence attempts. They're trying to make species more compliant, more willing to accept their offer without question. And it's not working on us. That's right. Human brains seem to have a natural resistance to their influence techniques, which explains why we're the first species to ask detailed questions about their protection offer. Alex felt a chill run through him. They've been mind-controlling other species into accepting their protection. It looks that way. And the fact that it doesn't work on us probably scares them. Back in the communication center, Ambassador Kyle Harrison was receiving updates from intelligence services around the world. The picture they were painting was becoming clearer and more frightening by the hour. Sir, came a voice from the communication station. We're receiving another transmission from the consortium. Kyle sighed. The crystal-faced alien appeared on screen, and Kyle immediately noticed that he looked more agitated than before. Ambassador Harrison, Zefter said, I hope your deliberations are progressing well. I wanted to inform you that our sensors have detected increased pirate activity in your sector. Pirate activity? Kyle asked. What kind of pirates? The dangerous kind, Zefter replied quickly. Raiders who attack developing worlds. They seem to be moving toward your system. This is why immediate protection is so important. Can you provide us with more specific information about these pirates? Ship types, numbers, their usual methods? Another pause. The details are complex, the alien finally said. What matters is that they pose a serious threat to unprotected worlds like yours. How do you know they're moving toward our system? Captain Lisa asked. We have ... sources, intelligence networks. Throughout the galaxy, Dr. Alex Carter, who had been listening from the side of the room, stepped forward. Hi, Mediator. We've been studying the history of worlds that refused your protection. The timing of the disasters that befell them seems remarkably consistent. Zefter's crystal skin shifted colors rapidly. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything, Alex replied calmly. I'm asking directly. Do you have any involvement in the threats that destroy worlds after they refuse your protection? The silence that followed was the longest yet. Kyle could see other alien figures moving frantically in the background of the transmission. That is an outrageous accusation, Zefter finally said. We are protectors, not destroyers. The fact that you would even suggest such a thing shows how much your world needs our guidance. Got it, it's not an accusation, Kyle said carefully. A question. And the fact that you won't give us a straight answer is becoming a problem. Commander Jake Phillips chose that moment to enter the room and whisper something in Kyle's ear. The ambassador's eyes widened. Hi, Mediator, Kyle said. We've just detected several unidentified ships entering our outer solar system. Would these happen to be the pirates you mentioned? Zephyros' reaction was immediate and telling. His skin color shifted through several shades before settling on a dark, almost black crystal appearance. He said, Without our protection, these threats have found you. Accept our offer now, and we can drive them away immediately. I beg your pardon? Kyle made a decision that would change everything. Hi, Mediator. We're going to deal with these pirates ourselves. If they're as dangerous as you say, this will be a good test of our defenses. You cannot be serious, Zephyr said, his voice rising in pitch. Your primitive weapons are no match for galactic raiders. Maybe, Kyle replied.
Yes.
But we'd rather find out for ourselves than take your word for it. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the room in tense silence. Sir, Commander Jake Phillips said, I have more bad news. Those ships that just entered our system, their energy signatures match consortium vessels? Kyle nodded grimly. So, they're not pirates at all, no, sir. They're part of the same fleet that's been protecting us for the past 3 days. Dr. Alex Carter shook his head in amazement. You're going to stage a fake attack to prove how much we need them. Well, Kyle said, walking toward the communication console, let's give them a surprise they're not expecting. Get me, Admiral. Davis at Deep Space Command. It's time to show our visitors what humans do when someone tries to manipulate us. Captain Lisa Murphy smiled grimly. This should be interesting, Kyle replied. I think interesting is exactly the right word. Admiral Clark Davis had been expecting Kyle's call. The moment the unknown ships entered Earth's solar system, every military commander on the planet had gone to high alert. Now, standing in the bridge of the Earth battleship Yorktown, Clark watched the tactical displays with growing interest. Admiral Captain Drew Mitchell reported from his position at the sensor station. The incoming ships are trying to look like raiders, but their formation is too perfect. Real pirates don't fly in military precision patterns. Clark nodded. How long until they reach Mars orbit? 6 hours at current speed, sir. Good. That gives us time to prepare our little surprise. Clark turned to his communication officer. Get me Admiral Chen at Luna Base and General Stone on Earth. It's time to coordinate our response. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth destroyer Hampton, Captain Drew Mitchell was studying the approaching vessels with fascination. His ship was positioned near the asteroid belt, supposedly on routine patrol, but actually gathering intelligence on the fake raiders. Captain, his science officer Lieutenant Roy Hughes called out, I'm detecting some very interesting energy patterns from those ships. Drew walked over to Roy's station. What kind of patterns? Their weapons are powered down, but their communication systems are extremely active. They're receiving constant updates from the consortium fleet, so they're definitely working together. Yes, sir. And there's something else. I'm detecting what looks like recording equipment on several of the raider ships. Drew raised an eyebrow. Recording equipment? High-resolution cameras and sensor arrays pointed toward Earth. It's like they want to record their attack for someone. Probably for propaganda purposes, Drew said grimly. Show other worlds what happens when they don't. Accept consortium protection. Back on Earth, Ambassador Kyle Harrison was implementing the most audacious diplomatic strategy in human history. Instead of waiting for the attack, he decided to take the offensive. Dr. Susan Kelly, Kyle called to the head of Earth's communication. Research team, how quickly can we broadcast a message to every inhabited world in the galaxy? Susan looked up from her computer in surprise. Using the consortium's own communication network? It would take about 12 hours to hack into their system, and maybe another 6 to prepare the broadcast. Do it, and make sure the message reaches every single world under consortium protection. What kind of message, sir? Kyle smiled. The truth. While Susan's team worked on the galaxy-wide broadcast, Commander Jenny Foster was leading a very different kind of mission. Her diplomatic ship, the Treaty, was approaching the consortium fleet with a proposal that had never been made before. Consortium fleet. This is Commander Foster. of the Earth Vessel Treaty, Jenny announced over the open communication channel. We request permission to come aboard your flagship for urgent negotiations. The response came quickly from Zephyr. Himself, Commander Foster, this is not the time for negotiations. You are about to be attacked by dangerous raiders. That's exactly why we need to talk, Jenny replied smoothly.
If the consortium is truly here to protect us, then surely you
would want to coordinate our defense with yours. There was a long pause before Zephyr replied. What do you mean by coordination? We want to share our defensive technologies with you, and we want to see yours. If we're going to be allies, we should fight together. Another pause, this one even longer. Jenny could almost feel the panic in the consortium fleet as they tried to figure out how to respond to this unexpected request. Your technologies are too primitive to be useful, Zephyr finally said. Maybe, Jenny replied. But shouldn't that be for you to decide after you've seen them? Unless, of course, you're not really interested in working with us as equals. Challenge was clear, and Zephyr couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. Very well, you may dock with our flagship. 20 minutes later, Jenny found herself in the most advanced spacecraft she had ever seen. The consortium flagship was a marvel of technology, with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal and corridors that adjusted their size and shape as people walked through them. Zephyr met her in what appeared to be a conference room, though the furniture seemed to grow out of the floor as they approached. Commander Foster, the alien said, I appreciate your desire to help. Your weapons will be ineffective against the raiders. What makes you so sure? Jenny asked, setting down a small device on the crystalline table. Because we have encountered these raiders many times at shields that can stop any energy weapon. Jenny smiled. Good thing we don't rely entirely on energy weapons. She activated the device, which projected a holographic display of human military technology. Zephyr's crystal skin shifted colors as he studied the images. These are kinetic weapons, Jenny explained. Guns that fire solid projectiles instead of energy beams. And these are nuclear weapons that work by splitting atoms. Do your shields stop solid objects moving at high speed? Zephyr's uncomfortable silence told Jenny everything she needed to know. And here's the really interesting part, Jenny continued. Our weapons work on quantum principles that seem to be different from yours. Want to see a demonstration? Before Zephyr could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Jenny's earpiece crackled with a message from Admiral Davis. Jenny, the fake raiders just opened fire on our Mars colonies. Time to spring the trap. Jenny stood up calmly. Hi, Mediator. It seems your raiders have begun their attack. Shall we coordinate our response? What happened next shocked the consortium. Fleet beyond anything they had experienced in 3,000 years of galactic dominance. Instead of panicking or begging for help, the human colonies began fighting back with devastating effectiveness. Captain Drew Mitchell's destroyer Hampton had been waiting in the asteroid belt for exactly this moment. All ships, execute Operation Backfire, Drew announced over the fleet communication channel. The Hampton and 3 other Earth vessels emerged. From behind asteroids, their weapons already locked onto the raider ships. But instead of energy weapons, they fired solid tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic launchers. The raider shields, designed to stop energy beams, were completely useless against chunks of metal moving at significant fractions of light speed. 3 raider ships were disabled in the first volley. What is happening? Zephyr demanded, staring at the tactical displays in shock. We're defending ourselves, Jenny replied calmly. Isn't that what you wanted? But the real surprise came when Admiral Clark Davis activated the second part of the human plan. Instead of simply destroying the raiders, Earth forces began disabling and capturing them. Hampton to Yorktown, Drew reported. We've captured the raider flagship. Their crew is requesting permission to surrender. Permission granted, Clark replied. Bring them in for questioning. On the bridge of the Yorktown, Clark was coordinating the most successful military operation in human history. Not only were they defeating the fake raiders, but they were doing it so efficiently that the consortium fleet couldn't intervene without revealing their involvement. Admiral, his communication officer, reported, we're receiving a transmission from the captured raider ship. Put it through. The alien who appeared on screen looked nothing like Zephyr. This creature was smaller, with gray skin and large, fearful eyes. Please, the alien said in broken English, we surrender. We not want fight humans. Consortium make us attack you. Clark leaned forward. The Consortium forced you to attack us. Yes. They say attack Earth, or they destroy our world like they destroy others. We not want be raiders, but Consortium. Give us no choice. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Not only was the Consortium staging fake attacks, but they were forcing other species to serve as their raiders. What's your species name? Clark asked gently. We are Kethenary. Our world Kethenare, in Vega system. Consortium control us for 200 years. Clark made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. We're going to help you, he told the alien. But first, we need you to tell us everything about how the Consortium operates. Back on the Consortium flagship, Jenny was watching Zefdar's growing panic with satisfaction. This is impossible, the alien was muttering. No species has ever defeated our security measures. Maybe that's because no species has ever had a reason to try, Jenny replied. You see, High Mediator, there's something you don't understand about humans. What? We really don't like being lied to. We especially don't like being threatened. Jenny smiled. Oh, and there's one more thing you should know. What? Jenny touched her earpiece. Dr. Kelly, are you ready? Susan Kelly's voice came. Through clearly? Broadcast ready, Commander? Jenny looked directly at Zeftar. We've been recording this entire conversation. Everything you've said, everything your raiders have admitted, all the evidence of your fake protection scheme. And in about 30 seconds, we're going to broadcast it to every inhabited world. In the galaxy, Zeftar's crystal skin went completely black. You cannot do this, actually, Jenny said. We can. You used your own communication network to threaten us. We're using it to tell the truth. The broadcast began and across. The galaxy, billions of beings learned for the first time that their protectors were actually their oppressors. The galaxy exploded into chaos within hours of Earth's broadcast. On worlds that had been under Consortium protection for centuries, species that had forgotten what freedom meant suddenly remembered. The first to act were the Vekanari, a warrior. People from the Rigel system who had been forced into submission. 200 years earlier, Commander Velsha stood on the bridge of her hidden battleship, watching as her people destroyed the Consortium monitoring stations that had watched their every move for generations. The broadcast from Earth had given them something they had not felt in decades. Hope, Commander, her tactical officer reported. The Consortium garrison is requesting reinforcements. Should we attack them directly? Velsha smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. No, let them call for help. When the reinforcements arrive, we will be ready for them too. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. The peaceful Andorans were sabotaging Consortium supply lines. The aquatic Delphians were jamming communication networks. Even species that had served the Consortium willingly were beginning to question their loyalty. On Earth, Captain Roy Hughes was coordinating what he privately called the Underground Railroad of Space. His fast courier ship, the Liberty, was making supply runs to rebel worlds while avoiding Consortium patrol fleets. Captain, his navigator, Lieutenant Amy Foster, called. Out. We're approaching the Kepler system. I'm detecting heavy Consortium activity. Roy studied the sensor readings. The Kepler system had declared independence from the Consortium 3 days after Earth's broadcast. And the response had been swift and brutal. Consortium forces were laying siege to the system, cutting off all supplies. How many ships are we looking at? Roy asked. 12 Consortium vessels blockading the system, sir, but I'm also detecting something else. What? Amy smiled. Human ships. It looks like Admiral Davis sent the entire Third Fleet. Roy felt a surge of pride. Earth had not abandoned its new allies. Open a channel to Admiral Davis. Admiral Clark Davis appeared on the communication screen, looking tired but determined. Roy, good to see you made it. We're about to break the blockade. Are you ready to make a supply run? Always ready, Admiral. What's the situation? What's the Consortium? Fleet is trying to starve the Kepler colonists into surrender. I think we won't risk open war to help rebels. Clark's expression grew grim. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The Battle of Kepler became the first major engagement between Earth forces and the full might of the consortium military. What should have been an easy victory for the aliens turned into a nightmare. The consortium commanders had expected to face primitive human weapons and simple tactics. Instead, they encountered something they had never dealt with before: creative thinking. Captain Holly Edwards led the famous Terran charge that broke through the consortium battle line. Her ship, the Washington, was the first human vessel to directly engage a consortium dreadnought. All power to forward shields, Holly ordered as her ship accelerated toward the massive alien vessel. Arm the special package. The special package was Dr. Ben Carter's latest invention, a computer virus designed specifically for consortium systems. Instead of trying to destroy the alien ships, Earth forces had decided to capture them. Washington to all ships, Holly announced. Execute. Operation Trojan Horse. What happened next became legend among rebel forces throughout the galaxy. Instead of firing conventional weapons, Earth ships began broadcasting Dr. Carter's virus directly into consortium computer systems. The virus was a masterpiece of programming that took advantage of a fundamental flaw in consortium technology. Their ships were so advanced that they relied entirely on automated systems. When those systems were compromised, the ships became helpless. Consortium Dreadnought, this is Captain Edwards, Holly announced over the communication channel. Your ship is now under our control. Do you wish to surrender, or shall we demonstrate what happens when we take command of your weapons systems? The response came in the form of panic. Consortium crews had never experienced anything like this. Their supposedly invincible technology was being turned against them by a species they had dismissed as primitive. But the real breakthrough came when Dr. Ben Carter activated the second part of his plan. The virus did not just disable consortium ships, it also accessed their communication networks. This is Dr. Carter to all consortium vessels, Ben announced, his voice broadcasting on every alien ship in the galaxy. I want to speak directly to your crews, not your commanders. What followed was the most important speech in galactic history. Ben spoke directly to individual alien soldiers and workers, bypassing their command structure entirely. You have been told that you are protectors, Ben said, but you know the truth. You have seen the orders to create fake emergencies. You have watched as innocent worlds were destroyed for refusing to surrender their freedom. You know this is wrong. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the galaxy, consortium crews began to question their orders. Some ships simply stopped fighting. Others openly switched sides, the supreme arbiter Cathrone of the Drake Tour. Species watched this disaster unfold from his command ship in the consortium capital system. He had ruled the galaxy through fear and deception for over 50 years, and now it was all falling apart because of one small blue planet. Deploy the Hegemony Enforcement Armada, he ordered his subordinates. Destroy the Earth system completely. Make an example that will end this rebellion once and for all. The Hegemony Enforcement Armada was the consortium's ultimate weapon. 500 of their most powerful warships crewed by the most loyal species in their empire. It had never been defeated in 3,000 years of galactic history, but Earth was not facing this threat alone. Senator Kate Phillips had been busy during the week since first contact, conducting secret negotiations with moderate consortium species who had grown tired of their leadership's authoritarian methods. Senator Phillips, too, Admiral Davis, Kate, announced over the communication channel. I have some friends who would like to help. What emerged from hyperspace around Earth was the largest fleet in galactic history. It's not just human ships, but vessels from 47 different species. The Velanathi crystal ships that had once served the consortium now flew alongside human destroyers. The Canary warriors fought beside Andorian peacekeepers. Even more surprising were the moderate consortium species that had quietly switched sides. The aquatic Kefter brought their advanced shield technology. The insectoid Zektar contributed their superior sensor systems. This is Admiral Gary Newton of the Earth Defense Fleet, Gary announced as he surveyed the massive armada. We have, to all ships, coalition, and rebel forces, prepare for the largest battle in galactic history. Approaching consortium armada was massive and terrifying, but it faced something that had never existed before: A truly united galaxy fighting for freedom instead of conquest. On Earth, Ambassador Kyle Harrison watched the preparations with a mixture of pride and terror. In just a few weeks, humanity had gone from an isolated world to the leaders of a galactic rebellion. Ambassador Dr. Alex Carter said as he joined Kyle at the observation deck, "Do you think we did the right thing?" Kyle considered the question. As he watched ships from dozens of worlds preparing to defend Earth, "Alex, 3 weeks ago, we were alone in the universe. Today we have friends and allies we never could have imagined. Even if we lose this battle, we've already won something more important. What's that? We've shown the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for." The Consortium Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their ships gleaming with the power of 3 millennia of technological advancement. But they faced something their technology could not overcome: the combined will of free beings who refused to live in fear. "All ships," Admiral Newton announced, "this is where we make our stand. For Earth, for freedom, for the right to ask questions and demand answers." The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the outcome would determine the future of every living being in the galaxy. The Battle of Earth began at dawn on what would later be remembered as Liberation Day. 500 consortium warships faced nearly 800 vessels from the newly formed Coalition of Free Worlds. It was the largest space battle in recorded history. But the real victory would come from an unexpected source. Supreme Arbiter Cothran stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion, watching the Coalition fleet with growing anger. His crystalline armor reflected the light from nearby stars as he studied the tactical displays. How did these primitives gather so many allies? He demanded from his officers. Supreme Arbiter, his tactical officer, replied nervously, "Many of our own species have joined them. The Velanathi, the Kefter, even some director ships are in their fleet." Cothran's rage was visible as cracks appeared in his crystal armor. "Traitors, all of them. After this battle, we will rebuild the consortium with species that understand the value of order." But Captain Holly Edwards had other plans. Her ship, the Washington, led the Coalition's central attack force as they charged directly toward the consortium battle line. "All ships execute the Carter Protocol," Holly announced over the fleet communication channel. Dr. Ben Carter had spent the last week perfecting his computer virus, and now it was time for the ultimate test. Instead of attacking one ship at a time, the Coalition fleet began broadcasting the virus to every consortium vessel simultaneously. The effect was devastating. Consortium ships that had dominated space for 3,000 years suddenly found their weapons turning against each other. Navigation systems began plotting courses away from the battle. Communication arrays started broadcasting Coalition messages instead of consortium orders. "What is happening to our ships?" Cothran screamed at his officers. "The humans have infected our systems, sir. The virus is spreading through our entire fleet." But the virus was only part of Dr. Carter's plan. The real breakthrough came when he activated the second phase of his program. "This is Dr. Ben Carter speaking to all consortium crews." His voice echoed through every alien ship in the fleet. "I want to show you something your leaders have kept hidden." Suddenly, every screen on every consortium ship began displaying classified records. Documents showing how the consortium had destroyed worlds that refused their protection orders to create fake emergencies. Lists of species enslaved to serve as raiders. The reaction was immediate. On ship after ship, alien crews turned against their commanders. The mighty consortium fleet began to tear itself apart from within. Admiral Gary Newton watched this unprecedented sight from the bridge of his flagship, the Enterprise. "I've never seen anything like this," he told his tactical officer. "They're defeating themselves." But the battle was far from over. Supreme Arbiter Cothran had one final card to play. "Activate the Omega Protocol," he ordered. The Omega Protocol was the consortium's most closely guarded secret, a weapon that could destroy entire star systems. It had never been used before, but Cothran preferred to rule over ashes rather than lose control. "Sir?" his weapons officer said hesitantly. "The Omega weapon will destroy everything in this system, including our own forces." Then we will die as martyrs for order, Cawthron replied coldly. But he had not counted on Captain Drew Mitchell and the crew of the Hampton. Drew's ship had been quietly approaching the Dominion, while the rest of the fleet engaged in the larger battle. Hampton to Enterprise, Drew reported. We've identified the consortium flagship. Preparing to board. Negative, Hampton, Admiral Newton replied. That ship is too heavily defended. With respect, sir, Drew said, we're not going to attack it, we're going to talk to it. What followed became known as the Miracle of the Hampton. Using weapons, Drew Mitchell did something that no military commander in galactic history had ever tried. He opened a direct communication channel to every crew member on the enemy flagship. This is Captain Mitchell of the Earthship Hampton, Drew announced. I'm speaking directly to the crew of the Dominion. Your Supreme Arbiter is about to activate a weapon that will kill everyone in this system, including you. The reaction on the consortium flagship was immediate chaos. Alien crew members who had served loyally for decades suddenly realized their leader was willing to sacrifice them to maintain power. You lie. Cawthron snarled over the communication channel. Do I? Drew replied calmly. Just ask your weapons officer about the Omega Protocol. Ask him what it does to everything within 5 light-years of this position. The silence that followed told Drew everything he needed to know.
Out it is.
Even Cawthron's own officers were beginning to understand the truth. Supreme Arbiter, the weapons. Officer said quietly, perhaps we should reconsider. Silence. Cawthron roared. Activate the weapon immediately. But the weapons officer did not move. Neither did any of the other crew members on the bridge. I'm sorry, Supreme Arbiter, the weapons officer said, but I cannot follow that order. The mutiny spread through the flagship within minutes. 3. 1,000 years of absolute rule ended when Cawthron, his own bodyguards, arrested him and handed control of the ship to his second-in-command. This is Commander Velter of the Dominion, came a new voice over the communication channel. We surrender. Unconditionally, and request permission to join the coalition of free worlds. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. In the months that followed, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered on Earth to establish a new form of galactic government. Ambassador Kyle Harrison found himself chairing the Constitutional Convention of the Galactic Democratic Federation. The discussions were often heated, with species that had been enemies for millennia trying to find common ground. The fundamental principle, Kyle said during one particularly difficult session, is that every world has the right to govern itself. No species, no matter how advanced, has the right to force protection on another. The Velanathi representative, who had once been part of Zefter's original delegation, raised a crystalline hand. But what about worlds that genuinely need help? What about real threats? Dr. Alex Carter, now serving as Earth's science advisor to the Federation, stood up to answer. That's the beauty of voluntary cooperation. When worlds choose to work together, they're much stronger than when they're forced to obey. The new Federation was tested almost immediately when automated weapon systems from an ancient extinct civilization began attacking the Outer Rim. Unlike the Consortium's fake threats, this was a real danger that required coordinated response. But instead of one species commanding all others, the Federation fleet that responded to the crisis was truly cooperative. Each species contributed their best technology and their finest personnel. Human tactical innovation, combined with Velanathi, crystal technology, and Misconnery warrior spirit, created a force more effective than anything the old Consortium had ever fielded. Captain Roy Hughes, now commanding the Federation starship Liberty, led the mission to disable the ancient weapons. It's amazing what we can accomplish when we work together instead of being forced to obey, reported after the successful mission. Years later, Ambassador Kyle Harrison stood once again on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, but the view was very different now. Instead of a few human ships, he could see vessels from dozens of species working together in peaceful cooperation. Dr. Alex Carter joined him, now showing gray in his hair, but still filled with the curiosity that had started their entire adventure.
Do
you ever wonder what would have happened if we had just accepted their offer? Alex asked. Kyle smiled. Sometimes. But then I remember that the best security comes not from surrendering your freedom, but from building friendships with those who share your values. They watched as a group of human and alien children played together in the station's recreation area, representing a future built on trust rather than fear. Alex said, "We never did get an answer to our original question." "What question?" "Protection." "From what?" Kyle laughed. "Oh, we got our answer. We needed protection from those who offered to protect us. In the end, humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy was not superior technology or military might. More powerful, the courage to ask questions and the wisdom to demand honest answers. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.